You can look, but you can't touch. Here's your look at the new Diamond Select. This is the Rogue Marvel Select figure. Born Anna Marie on the bayou of Mississippi, Rogue ran away from home after the disappearance of her birth mother. Her first kiss awakened her mutant power, which caused her to absorb the life energy and psyche of anyone she physically touches. She was taken in by Mystique and her partner Destiny and recruited into the Brotherhood of Mutants, where she used her power to steal the unique abilities of others and use them for herself. After prolonged contact with Miss Marvel led her to permanently absorb the heroine's powers and personality, she sought the help of the X-Men and was reluctantly accepted into their number. She has since proved herself countless times over and has risen to the position of leadership in the X-Men ranks. This 7-inch scale action figure of Rogue features 16 points of articulation and includes interchangeable parts and a Danger Room display base. Combine it with other Danger Room sections from other Marvel Select X-Men figures to build a larger diorama. Now, to get this review underway, the first thing we're going to do is figure out how tall Rogue stands. And taking the Ultra Measure-Tron 5000 right to the very top of her head, that seems like a good place right there. The figure stands exactly 7 inches in height, which in centimeters works out to be a figure that's 17.8 centimeters tall. And as mentioned in the beginning of this review, she also comes included with a piece of the diorama of the Danger Room. I think this is really neat that they've continued on with this, and short of me actually going around and looking in my totes to see if I can find the remainder of the Danger Room sets that I've already looked at on this channel, eventually I would love to get all of them, put them together to get a much larger diorama. I really like the fact that this one doesn't take up a lot of a footprint either. The base, the bottom section which the figure is going to stand atop of, is relatively small. Granted, yes, there's all these slots located on the side, so in theory, again, if you had the additional Danger Room sets, they would just connect. I'm not sure really how specifically they would connect, but I mean, if you had the larger walls, you would just add on to it until you got yourself a much bigger setup. Love the panel outlining that they've done in there. The same sort of color scheme, that kind of greenish, not quite greenish beige, but you can see there's a slight greenish tint to it. There's a little bit of that glittery blue and some silver, all which have carried over from the other sets that we've had a look at. Again, just really neat looking setup. Even if you don't put all the other things together, it's just neat to have, you could put even several figures on that one stand, this one display base here. The one thing about Rogues, though, that is unique is that she does have like a little laser turret that's located on top. And yes, it does have, Virginia, some articulation. You can hinge it up and down, and you can also rotate it all the way around. So I like the fact that you've got a little bit of posability to kind of play around with. And again, if you want to display the figure, it's just simply a case of putting her just on top. She does not come with pegs, or should I say, the display stand doesn't come with pegs. So if you want to just put the figure onto it, it doesn't really necessarily then mean you have to then put her in a specific place where a peg would dictate it. You could really put the figure anywhere you want, or you could, again, you could put several different figures together. You could put like a Wolverine or like even a Gambit. Oh, a Gambit would be perfect to put in front or next to Rogue here. Other than really the diorama, there's not much that the figure comes included with, but I think she does come with one neat, notable accessory that we're going to talk about right now. Currently residing in the socket sections of her arms, she comes with a pair of closed fists. I mean, this is fine and good if you want to have a pair of closed fists, I guess if she's fighting, but I think for Rogue you could get a little bit more creative than that, and thank goodness Diamond Select did get a little bit more creative than that. If the figure can only just simply stand for a second, just 1 second, Rogue. She does also come with a pair of, I guess you could consider it to be flight or touching hands. Touching you, touching me. That's sweet Caroline. The extended fingers do vary. These ones are slightly a little bit more bent over with the fingers extending out. These are actually better suited for if you want to simulate the idea of her like reaching out to absorb somebody else's powers. And then you kind of got just a more dynamic hand. But it doesn't just end there. This is the part that gets kind of fun and creative, something which I don't think I've seen another company handle. Speaking of handling, Rogue also comes included with a closed fist. Now, you'll see that she's actually holding something in her hand. That is one of the gloves that she's pulled off from the adjacent hand, on the other hand, if you will. To go along with that, she also has a bare hand. Don't touch it, though, whatever you do. You'll end up in a coma. But it's neat that they would give you the bare hand, but also, most notably, the fact that they would also give you the hand that's pulling off the glove. I think that is so super fun. I love that. Just to also show you how that works, we're going to go ahead and grab the figure, take the hand out of the socket section. That's relatively easy, isn't it? And then we can go ahead and put the new hand in with the glove in hand. And we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. Apparently my mutant ability isn't that my abilities will be absorbed by Rogue. I don't know if she knows that, and this is all the more reasoning why I think it's safe for me to be able to review this figure. You can see there's the glove in her hand, waving way up into the sky. There's the gloved hand. And again, like, you could either have it just where she's already pulled off it, or you can kind of simulate it. Thank goodness that she has double hinged elbows. You can almost simulate like she's pulling off the glove and she's ready to use her ability. Again, I really, really love that. That is so cool. I think for the time being, actually, I'll even just keep everything in place because I'm such a fan of that gloved hand. Hand holding glove hand, gloved hand. You know what I'm talking about. We're going to keep that in place for the time being, and let's have a look at the Rogue figure. All around, not a bad looking figure at all. It really harks back to the original 90s X-Men cartoon that I used to love back in the day. Sort of watching it nowadays loses some of its pizzazz. The animation really isn't as good as I thought it was when I was watching it back in the day, but still, it encapsulated pretty much all the X-Men stories, all kind of smooshed together into that one running series. So I love the fact that they get the vintage Rogue outfit, comprised of the metallic green with the yellow, the trademark looking colors. And of course she's got her bomber jacket, which, as you can see there, has the X logo there, very predominantly presented there as a patch on her shoulder. It's on both shoulders as well, so feast your eyes on those little tiny X patches. She's also got a little X logo there also on her chest. Paint generally is pretty clean. Mostly. The green is kind of the biggest culprit of it all. The yellow isn't so terrible. Usually yellow, sometimes, if it's not applied in enough layers, you can often at times see the plastic underneath that. And luckily, it seems as if, for the most part, the paint is pretty good on it. The green, though, oh yeah, the green gets a little on the messy side. It actually kind of looks like, back in the day when I used to build models, very badly I might add, as a kid, I used to have a set of little tiny, very like watery thin paints of various different metallic colors. Maybe everybody seemed to probably grow up at that same time frame, maybe remembers those as well. It came like a little set, a little paintbrush, and it comes with various, there's probably like 12 different paints. This kind of reminds me of that typical metallic green model paint that would have come included with those various, you know, assorted paint colors. Unfortunately, though, I don't know if being just applied wet or just by the nature of the way the paint was, it unfortunately has done a real number on anything that it touches. Sort of envelops it and absorbs it in the same way that Rogue envelops and absorbs the abilities of anybody she touches. Everything that the surface of the green touches gets unfortunately tainted by the green around it. So very, very much noticeable. It's not so much on the front. Front is actually generally pretty good. From the back, though, is really where you start seeing a lot of that green bleed, and I just really wish that wasn't the case. The metallic green also seems to vary a bit in color. You see a little bit lighter here happening in the thighs, but quite considerably dark there on the forearms. I mention it, but I also understand that saying this in this review, I know it may vary from figure to figure. You may potentially get the exact same Rogue figure, and I don't feel like it would have the exact same level density of this green color. It might very well just be my figure. So, but I'll say it, and I'll just mention it. But you know, it is there, and unfortunately that it's just a shame that it looks so much darker on the arms than it does on the legs. The other thing I'll have to mention, because I know somebody else will probably mention it also in the comments section, when you do use the gloved hand and the bare hand, it doesn't seem like there's a means to take, from what I can see, the top of the glove off. It has to kind of permanently stay there, because really, like all the hands you'll see, don't have the cuff happening at the bottom. They could have actually done the exact same thing that they did with the Ghostbuster figures, where the cuff was a separate piece. I mean, it would mean that the cuff would slide up and down her arm if you moved her arm up, for example, but still it wouldn't look like, it looks actually now like a bracelet because I've gone ahead and taken off the gloved hand. All that talk, let's finally get to the head sculpt. I must say a very pretty looking Rogue. Little on the serious side though. I mean, as nice as the head sculpt may look, I would have been thrilled for the fact that they would have given her like a real southern smile. Something of which I always seem to pair with Rogue. Rogue, of course, is a character that has much, very much a dark history to her, a very saddened life. But still, she always manages to have a big old smile on her face. And this is kind of one of those exceptions where she actually doesn't have a big smile on her face. Kind of wish that she did. Face sculpt, like I said, is quite pretty. They put a little bit of reflection there on the light, on the actual eyeball, which I like. Hair is nicely sculpted with the trademark white on the front there for Rogue's hair there. And of course, she's got the curls happening on the back. For some strange reason, she's got these little areas in which there's dark color that's just there and nowhere else. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the head sculpt, and I love the fact that the hair kind of blows off to the side. Whoosh, whoosh. Initially, I did feel like the face looked a little on the flat side, just a little on the smushed side, but I think the more I look at it, it's not bothering me as much. Again, I would have loved a big smile on Rogue's face, but I guess this is a little bit more serious Rogue than anything else. Finally, just wrapping things up before we have a look at her posability, just want to again express the fact that she's got peg holes on the undersides of her feet. The display stand in question, the one of which we just finished having a look at, doesn't come with pegs. But again, like if you wanted just to use her without a display stand, without that display stand, you could probably just use a standard stand that has the peg holes if you want to get her in a more creative looking pose. I guess the only other thing I'll mention about this particular figure is that it often at times doesn't look like she ever wants to have straight legs, and even when I do straighten the legs forward, it does kind of throw me for a loop, and I think it's because the legs look like they're on a permanent angle. Just something of which I wanted to mention in there as well. I don't know really how else I would have gone around doing this. I mean, the knee articulation really is where it should be. I would not have moved the knee articulation up behind this, and of course that normally, I think in the other Rogue figures that we've had a look at, this has been a separate appliance. This instead has been molded to the thigh, but again, it's not terrible. It just means that when you are displaying her, it does look like the figure is kind of leaning forward, and it's just because of the cuffs, the tops of her boots here. Okay, so let's have a look at her posability now. Her head rotates all the way around. It hinges up, it hinges down. It slightly rotates, it hinges back and forth, not by much though. The shoulders hinge outward. You can rotate the arms all the way around. She has a bend at the elbow, not only a single bend, but she also has two bends. One right there, and one right there. The hands also rotate all the way around. They hinge back and forth. Get those arms back down, there we go. She has an upper torso ball joint. Nothing happening in the waist. Legs split out via a nice, very visible ball joint, very accessible ball joint. Legs therefore move forward and back. She has a swivel in the 3/4 cut of her thigh, double hinge happening in her knee. She has a swiveling in her boot, which I don't know if I guess it would make sense to put it there because she can't really rotate her feet back and forth. She has the ankle pivot, but I guess it allows, if the cut is right there, that you can move the feet out slightly as well. And there's Rogue. I mean, not a bad looking Rogue at all. For the longest time, we didn't get Rogue figures. For the longest time, we really only had that really disastrously ugly Rogue from the folks over at Toy Biz. Since then, many different incarnations of Rogue have come out. This one I think is pretty high on the list. Few paint little faux pas kind of take away a few of the points on Rogue, but overall I'm pretty happy with the figure. Just kind of wish that she had a big smile on her face. This sad, moping Rogue isn't for me. I would have much preferred instead a big, happier, smiling Rogue, but that's just me. Now, I don't collect Marvel Legends like I used to, just primarily because of the reasoning that I just feel after a while I get the exhaustion of having a look at basically the same figure over and over and over again, just with a different paint scheme and a different head sculpt. I pride myself, no pun intended, on getting more Marvel Select figures than anything else. Plus, for me here in Canada, Marvel Select figures are a little bit more accessible. They're always coming out to my local comic book store, whereas Marvel Legends figures are always a big struggle to get in local retail stores, and the times that I've had pick up the waves in the past, I usually have to pick them up on eBay or US sellers, and I have to tack on another third of the price on top of that. One of the main reasonings why I don't review Marvel Legends as much as I used to. So I kind of held out hope, instead passing over potential Rogue pickups in favor of something that would be offered up from the folks over at Diamond Select. I was really hoping for the Diamond Select brand to release a Marvel Select version of Rogue, because I always really like Marvel Select stuff a little bit better. The end result, though, is a Rogue that I think finishes off rather nicely. She sure does have a little bit of the green bleed, which is the only one detractor of this figure. If you can overlook for the fact that she's a bit of a somber looking Rogue, I guess one of the other nitpicking points that I could make about the figure, kind of wish that she could have had a big southern smile, but this one they decided to go instead with a more serious look of Rogue, and I think still a successful feat. By the way, also the icing on the cake is the fact that she comes with a hand that's holding a glove. How cool is that? If you guys are interested in picking this one up for yourself, the Marvel Select Rogue is now available at your local comic book store, so good luck and happy hunting. If you've managed to pick up this figure for yourself, or solely based on this review and this review alone, let me know down below what you guys think of the new Marvel Select Rogue from the folks over at Diamond Select. And hey, while you're also at it, if you're new to this channel or maybe a long-time viewer and just haven't had a chance yet to turn on and hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit it and turn on your bell notifications to guarantee you that when new videos are coming onto this channel, you'll never miss out. We're going to have a look at some upcoming Marvel figures and different Diamond Select pieces coming up in future reviews, so stay tuned for that. Also, if you guys want to go back and have a look at some of my Marvel Select reviews, there's a playlist for just Marvel Select figures, because I'm all about Marvel Select, not so much about Marvel Legends. Today, though, like I said, we're having a look at the new Marvel Select Rogue, a pretty nice looking figure when it's all said and done. Thanks for watching, guys, as you always do, and I'll see you guys next time.